C'est bon pour toi? Good morning, everyone. And we're gonna get going with this new show, this new talk, with a panel of experts and professionals from all around the EU. We've got with us today, and all around the world, because we've even got a Canadian with us, someone from Luis from Spain, and we've got Bob from the UK and Emmanuel from France to talk about their experience of the outdoors in general, but kayak in particular. So we've got with us this morning, I welcome...
Hi, my name is Corin Addison. I am from originally from South Africa, but live in Canada now. And I've been in the industry since the mid-1980s. I started working for Perception Kayaks in South Carolina when I was 17 as a designer. And through the years have worked for various companies and also started various kayaking companies, paddleboarding, surfing companies. I have a tendency of starting companies, growing them, selling them, and then moving on to the next thing. And have seen massive changes in the sport since I came into it from the middle of the 1980s through to where we are now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Luis Rabaneda from Spain, and I'm in the business since, like Corin, mid-80s. At that time, more as a competitor, but in '96, I started my own company, outdoor company in the Pyrenees, and now we have 3 main bases in Spain, in the sea, in the snow, and in the mountains, doing rafting and other activities, but also we have activities overseas in Patagonia, in Greenland, in Azerbaijan. So we are working in outdoors in many different places. So I think we have kind of a vision of what has been the outdoor and the changes that we are facing in front of us.
Thank you, Luis. I'm Bob Timms. Similarly, I started in the late 80s in the UK. In mountaineering and the mountains, and also kayaking and rafting and mountain biking. Worked for many companies over the years, and for the last 17 years I've worked for the UK's largest outdoor adventure tourism company, dealing mainly with children and family holidays in France, Europe, the UK and Australia, and have seen many trends and changes over the years.
Bonjour, je suis Emmanuel Delager, donc le directeur de Idoine Diffusion, un magasin de kayak spécialisé sur la France où nous distribuons du matériel. Nous sommes sur le marché depuis la fin des années 90 et nous distribuons de la compétition jusqu'au grand public en passant par le marché des loueurs.
Okay, we will put a little insert in English in the registration in the video for you. This is great. Thank you for this presentation. And as I mentioned, over the years we have things that evaluate. You know that the outdoors as an activity, as a tourism, leisure activity, even as a sporting activity, is changing regularly, and there are some certain aspects where it changed significantly. And the reason why we've got this panel of guests this morning is that because each of them in their field have analyzed and have seen things that are particularly interesting for you guys to know, and have noticed changes or trends that are in the process of changing at the moment. And we're going to get started with Corin, who's got a little story about what he's perceived in the last few years and what he anticipates in the coming years to change in the paddling industry. Corin, could you give us some info on this?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of things that are affecting how paddle sports and outdoor sports, of which paddle sports is just a small part of it, how this is changing and has been changing since I was a kid to now, where I'm sort of in my twilight years of an outdoor enthusiast. And I think one of the key things that I'm seeing, which is both a trend and a necessity for the continuation of outdoor sports in general, again, looking at paddle sports, but all outdoor sports, and also addressing what we're seeing as a looming climate crisis coming our way, which is going to affect our activities, our sports, where we go and how we do things, is youth. When I was learning to kayak as a child, most of the time families would engage their children, somewhere around 10, 11 years old. That's when you started teaching your kids to ski. It's when you started teaching your kids to mountain bike or to kayak. There are exceptions to that, of course. But in general, once kids were almost self-sufficient and self-reliant, that's when you started bringing them into the outdoors. And there's been a massive shift from that over the last 15 years, but particularly the last 7, 8 years, where we're now seeing children who are 2 years old who are learning to ski, 2 years old who are learning to kayak. You have these little balanced mountain bikes kind of things where they're not pedals. It's just a little balance bike, but it's not your grandpa's balance bike. These things can go trail riding. And we're putting children into these sports, into these outdoor leisure sports, which traditionally we didn't used to do. We introduced children to soccer or to swimming. These were the traditional paths to outdoor activity, or not outdoor activity, but sporting activity. And there's been a huge shift. It's not a global shift. It's still relatively unique and special. This is the beginning of that shift. But it is an important shift because now you have an entire generation of people who are going to then become teenagers and then are going to become adults who, from the very first beginnings of their consciousness, of their awareness of the world around them, are directly associated with the outdoors. They're part of the outdoors. A child who grew up skiing is not going to want to go cut a forest out of the mountains to make paper because he wants to go and ski in those woods. A child who learns to kayak when he's 2, 3, 4, and all of his oldest and fondest memories of being on the water with friends and family is not going to want to pollute a river or dam a river. So these are important things as we address as a climate problem. These children who are coming up through the paths that we're introducing them to are going to be more aware of the necessity of looking after the outdoors as a whole. But then also as an industry, we've seen the outdoor industry go through spikes. We saw huge growth in snowboarding in the 90s, and then it sort of plateaued. We saw massive growth in kayaking in the late 90s and early 2000s, and then it plateaued. And I mean, all activities are going to do that a little bit. But the future is looking very, very good for the outdoors because, again, we have this massive trend of teaching children skiing, kayaking, mountain biking, these kinds of sports, rather than just putting them in a soccer club. And I think that's going to be very, very healthy for the outdoor industry when you have these children. And it's not just the children of the paddlers and the skiers, but it's their friends. My son is 7. He's been kayaking since he was 2. He's been snowboarding since he was 2. He's been riding motorcycles and bicycles since he was 2, 3 years old. And all of his friends in school, very few of their parents do any of these sports, but all of his friends want to do it. And he brings them home, and he says, this is my friend Tony, this is my friend Lisa, and they want to learn to kayak, and then we take them out. So it propagates out from that, and every one of these kids is going to be a future, is going to contribute to the outdoor industry as a whole, and contribute towards finding solutions for the climate crisis that we see coming our way.
Thank you very much, Coran. Very interesting. Very often businesses in the service industry or even in the goods industry, we concentrate on our existing clients and we try to assess the changes within our existing clients, and we forget to look at our future clients. And that's a very interesting approach, and I think you will have to view this again to learn from what Coran just explained. Thank you very much, Coran. This is very instructive for us all. And I'm going to hand over the microphone to Luis, who is going to bring us some experience from Spain. So we are now moving from one country to the other with another topic where you've noticed changes and evolution and trends. Luis, you are in.
Yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, as I said, we start back in '96 with our rafting operation, and I should say in Spain, outdoors starts late. At the latest '80s, some French come to our valley to do some rafting, and then some locals start some rafting companies, and then outdoors starts to be everywhere in the country. So many rivers starts to have some rafting, canyoning, and other activities. But I was lucky because my hometown was one of the key points to start these outdoor activities. So we've seen all this process from the beginning till today. And one thing that we have seen is like till I will say now, people it's coming, for example, in our valley or in our center in Barcelona, they coming because in the Pyrenees we have a national park, this very nice landscape. So people coming just to visit the area, and then once there, they're doing an activity. They come and they say, okay, let's do the rafting because we are here, and let's do the rafting. What we're seeing recently is that more and more, and probably that's thank you to the digital aspect of how the world is moving, people it's looking for an activity. And they don't look for a destination, they look for an activity. I'm in Barcelona, I'm in Madrid, I'm in Paris, I'm in Berlin, and I want to do rafting this weekend. Where I'm going? And this is changing. This is a big change. I mean, said like that probably doesn't sound that big, but for us as an instructor that we have quite a big number of employees working on booking and sales, it's important because now we are focused in our activity. And I think someone comments before we start about people start to realize how important it is to have good equipment, how important it is to have good instructors, how important it's now this is key. I mean, till now, people was going to do rafting because it was fun, was attractive, was appealing, was trendy. Now people still going for that, but also they want a good service, they want good materials, they want they don't want neoprenes from the last 10 years being used there, they don't want rafts with 10 years old. So it's where we see the future. Where we see the future, it's trying to keep our outdoor activities trendy and trying to sell the activities and the motivation of doing outdoors. As Coran said, and I agree 100% with him, the kids and the way that we can introduce those kids into our sports and outdoor sports especially, it will be our future. And it looks bright because as Coran said, a lot of sports are concentrated now on teaching those kids. And I will say that in the near future, we will be more selling activities and we will be less selling destination. So we saying at home, the activities will be the destination in the future, and that's where we are working really hard right now.
Luis, thank you very much. Very interesting approach as well. Yeah, in tourism and leisure, for many years, people used to go first somewhere and then say, what are we going to do now that we are there? And it's very interesting, this shift on the fact that people first choose what they want to do and then where am I going to go to do it. That's a very interesting approach. The other interesting note that you mentioned is the impact on the staff, on our guys, on our employees, because they need to be trained to acquire the competencies. We will talk about it later on with Gergana from ATTA, the Adventure Travel Trade Association, which regroups tour operators, and they've got a very similar analysis to yours of saying this sort of shift in trend has implication on the way the staff is being trained. The guys in the kayaks, the guys in the raft need to be trained with more soft skills to be able to deliver this sort of non-technical issues, non-technical services. So very, very interesting. And I'm sure it's not just in Spain. I'm sure it's in other member states. Excellent. Bob, what's the news? We're not going to talk about the Brexit, okay? A little bit. We had a whole conference about Brexit yesterday. But we know how whatever happened with the UK has always been a very serious player in the outdoors. Great instructors, great equipment, great views, great exploration, great innovation. education in the outdoors is a fantastic topic in the UK. What's your views? How is it evolving? You work for PGL. It's a big organization. What's your views? What's the trend that you can see in your field, in your part of the world?
Thank you. I think it's very similar to what Luis was saying. It's an evolution of you were talking about the equipment, the material. I think more and more, plus people, their expectations are moving up. So people were happy to go and do some kind of experience where it's in the outdoors, and part of being in the outdoors is a little bit of suffering, a little bit of pain in the mountains or on the rivers, and that was part of the attraction. But now more and more people, they like the experience of being in the outdoors, but what they want is a bit of luxury with this. They want to have better equipment, sexy equipment, a wonderful experience. They don't want just a sandwich on the river at lunch. They want a full spread of food. They want the luxury experience, better accommodation. So a great example is where the business PGL, where I work for, in the Ardèche Gorge. It's a very famous part of France, the most visited river in France. And there's been the bivouac sites run by the Nature Reserve for many years. So hundreds of people stay there every night. But more and more people, they don't want to bivouac. They want to stay in the yurts, in the teepees, in the luxury cabins, and the gîtes. And so what they do now, instead of the river being done over 2 days, they do it in 1 day, and they go out and they stay in the beautiful luxury accommodation. And that's the effect of that, is it changes. So the river is being done faster in 1 day, and then they used other sections. So the change in expectations pushes people out into different areas and changes that. But going back to what you say, with that higher quality desire for experience is also the education. So people want to learn about the environment. They want to understand the story of the humans in that environment and all these other things. So there's a big need to increase that knowledge and skill in the guides, in the instructors, the coaches, the leaders. So they have all these other skills. And so the guiding isn't just the technical side of things. It's the whole package. You have to be a storyteller, a raconteur, and be able to give all of this knowledge, as well as be a great chef on the river and provide this wonderful food and the whole package and the whole experience. And in some ways, that's again, coming back to one of your comments. So luxury, normally we associate luxury with costing more, perhaps costing more from the environment. And so we have to balance these two things. How do we live at this better expectation, but at the same time reducing our impact of our carbon footprint? And so you say, Luis, you said that the destination is the destination is the activity. I also think that as increasingly we need to have less impact. The journey will become part of the experience. So, for example, I go for a 2-day train journey to get to a destination on a great train instead of a quick flight, you know. And a great example: will we still be skiing in 20 years when it uses so much energy to wind us up the mountain, unless a ski resort has a hydro station like Teens, where it can be completely self-supporting and self-sustaining. And I think these things will be the big trend and the change in what we see, where it has to be self-supporting as a destination, and everything as part of that.
Thank you very much, Bob. Very interesting that not only the destination or the desire of the clientele is changing, but the level of expectation. So it looks like we are shifting, the clientele is shifting horizontally and vertically. And so it is for us in the outdoors professionals to adapt to this situation where the customers are sort of, it's a slow motion. It's difficult sometimes to perceive, and it's extremely interesting that you have made this analysis. Because, you know, whether it's with kids or whether it's destination and activities or whether it's a level of game playing, it's sometimes very difficult to see, and it's your expertise that brings these ideas to our viewers. Very interesting. And we've got Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you will be giving some hints to our viewers as well. Emmanuel, in France, what's happening?
Alors, en effet, en France, je rejoins tout à fait ce que mes confrères ont dit. On a aujourd'hui les enfants qui poussent et on fait des produits qui sont mieux adaptés pour les enfants. Donc nous distribuons les produits de Coran qui sont vraiment adaptés. C'est un nouveau concept sur le marché français, mais il y a une demande forte qui arrive. On s'aperçoit aussi qu'en effet les activités et les structures sont de plus en plus hautes. Donc les gens veulent de l'outdoor, mais de l'outdoor de qualité. Et on voit depuis quelques années aussi une nouvelle clientèle, une clientèle qui est plus une clientèle de fitness, des gens qui font du vélo, qui font de la course à pied et qui demandent aussi à faire du kayak le soir. Donc on sort du travail, on a envie aussi de faire une activité qui est le kayak. Ça, c'est une toute nouvelle clientèle qu'on a depuis 10 années et qu'on met en place, avec des nouveaux produits, avec des produits adaptés, un nouveau marché sur le marché français.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Yes, it's an interesting thing that the fitness industry is shifting as well. And the fitness industry is now discovering that they could do their fitness activities in the outdoors. And so it's a new, you stop me if I say something wrong, if I misinterpret what you are saying. It's a new way to practice the outdoors in a fitness way. Very interesting trend as well here in France, and I'm sure it's not just in France. I'm sure it's, yeah, you've...
Il arrive en France alors qu'il existait en Afrique du Sud, ça existe depuis de nombreuses années en Australie, etc. Et c'est un marché qui vient en France aujourd'hui avec des produits de plus en plus qualitatifs, des vélos, des chaussures de running et puis des kayaks. Le marché de kayak monte aujourd'hui grâce à ce marché-là aussi.
So it's a trend that has been hitting Anglo-Saxon countries and is arriving in Western Europe at the moment. Very interesting, and I'm sure that all the outdoor professionals will follow your info, your advice. I would like to thank you very much for this presentation. It's not just over yet. I would like to say a few words. As you know, if you've been following our webinars in the past, I'm the president of ECHO, the European Confederation of Outdoor Employers. So our members, the people we cater for, are outdoor organizations, outdoor companies. And we have recently made a partnership with ATTA, the Adventure Tourism Travel Association. It's a huge organization. It's a worldwide association. And a few months ago, we ran a webinar that on these sort of issues. We made a joint webinar with Gergana Nikolova, who is their representative for the EU. And she brought in the perspective of the tour operators. And I asked her the webinar lasts for a long time, and we're not going to present the webinar here, but I just wanted to present a couple of slides from this webinar where she mentioned that the views of the tour operators that specialize in adventure tourism is orientated towards now the clientele towards well-being, quality of, and we are exactly the tour operators. It's interesting that you guys are in the manufacturing and the service providing. You are not tour operators. They are tour operators. They bring people to our businesses. And their view is that in the future, we are hitting a much better educated customers, much better educated, much more expecting customers who are seeking for well-being, both physically and psychologically. And that's very important because over the past years, we have had a tendency to deliver technical issues to our customers. And today, we can't just deliver technical issues to our customers. We also need to deliver psychological issues, which means, and we go back to what Louis was mentioning, we need to alter the way we train our staff because they need more soft skills, because they need other competencies than just the technical competence. And it's a very interesting aspect. She had another aspect about care and cooperation. And she recommends, the recommendation of ATTA is to say, we tour operators, we have the demand from our customers is that they want more care, more sort of service adapted. we had a very interesting webinar 2 days ago about disability and access to nature. And Jeza William was saying, this is special service. It's a special care when you deal with customers who are disabled. And it's exactly what the tour operators are saying, is we need more care because people are more sensitive to service. And she recommends that because there is a lot of small businesses in the outdoors, she recommends that small businesses should learn to cooperate more with each other so that they can give part of the service. You mentioned it, Bob, you said, we don't go down the Ardèche in 2 days anymore, we do it in 1 day because they want to go to the gîte. So it means that the service provider needs to cooperate with the gîte or with the guy who supplies the super barbecue or these sort of things. So it means that the outdoor companies need to cooperate more to deliver a more custom-made and a higher-leveled service. So as you can see, the world of the outdoors is changing at the moment, is changing rapidly for the better, and we will have to follow these trends. So I'm sure that next year at the paddle show, we'll have to do the same webinar to see if there has been changes, if you've seen changes. In the meantime, I'm thanking you all on behalf of the paddle show for being here. Of course, this is recorded and you can follow. We will put a link on the paddle show website, and it will be available to everyone. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us this morning. I'll leave it to you back to your stand because it's the last day and I'm sure you're going to make lots of business and it's really good for you. Thank you very much.